let's take a look at how to graph an exponential curve without having to generate a table using something called key points. The key points are -1, 1 over b, 0, 1, and 1b. So if we look at a parent function, y equals b to the x, we can see that the b value shows up a couple of times in our key points. So if I were to have the equation y equals 3 to the x, I know that the b value is 3. So I can write my key points for this parent function without generating a table or doing all of that math at all, right? So my key points are -1, 1 over b. Remember, my b value is 3. 0, 1. This point actually exists in every parent function of a curve. And the point 1b, and again, my b value was 3. So let's go ahead and graph using just these 3 key points. Okay, so my first key point, when x is -1, y is 1/3. My next key point, when x is 0, y is 1. And my last key point, when x is 1, y is 3. This is the y equals 3 to the x curve. Pretty sweet, right? Now, what happens if we have that plus c part added on, right? We have that vertical shift. Well, not a problem. We can still work with the key points, but now we're going to view them as key directions. All right, key directions. The key directions are exactly the same coordinates as key points. It's just that we're not using them as coordinates. Instead, we're using them as instructions. So when we have -1, 1 over b, 0, 1, and 1b, we're looking at as our x values tell us to move left and right. So a -1 tells us to move left. 1 over b, at this point we don't know if that's up or down, but we know it would be one or the other. 0 tells us to move 0 units to the right. 1 tells us to move 1 unit up. And on our last set, we have 1 tells us to move 1 unit right, and b, again, we're not sure if that's going to be up or down, so we know it's just one of those things. So they're directions because they tell us how to move, right? The x values move left and right, the y values move up and down. So let's take a look at an equation. If we have y equals 1/4 to the x plus 2, instead of plotting points up front, let's go ahead and use our key directions and see if we can graph this out. Okay? So I know that my key directions tell me to go -1, 1 over b. So that would be 1 over 1/4. I don't know how many of you remember your fraction rules, but when you divide by a fraction, it's the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So 1 divided by 1/4 is the same thing as saying 1 times 4 over 1, which is 4. So instead of saying 1 over 1/4, I can just say 4. So much easier. So very much easier. Okay, my next key point is 0, 1. And my last key point is 1b. Our b value in this case is 1/4. So I'm going to use these key directions to graph. And remember what the key directions tell me. Left 1, up 4. Right 0, up 1. Right 1, up 1/4. Shrink this down. Okay, and let's graph. Now, the first thing that we need to do is we need to apply the vertical shift from the very, very beginning. So this vertical shift is where I'm going to start. So I go to the origin and I move up 2 units because this tells me up 2. So I travel up 2 units and I'm going to put a new set of crosshairs. That's going to be where I start all of my counting with my directions. So then I apply my first key direction, which is when x is -1, y is 4, meaning move left 1, up 4. So starting from my key directions, I go left 1, up 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me go ahead and fix our graph so that shows up. Okay, now to my next key direction, 0, 1, which means move right 0, up 1. Back at the new crosshairs, I move right 0, up 1. Last key directions, move right 1, up 1/4. From the new crosshairs, move right 1, up 1/4. Then I connect those to be a curve. Now, I think this is awesome, but I want you to see exactly how this works. You don't just have to take my word for it. So let's go ahead and move this over a little bit. And let's go back to the generating a table way and just see if what I just graphed really does work. So if we go back to our equation of y equals 1/4 to the x plus 2, let's generate a table. And let's take a look at the key points that we were working with. We had the x value of -1, 0, and 1. So x value of -1, 0, and 1. So we'll plug these in. We have y equals 1/4 to the x plus 2. And our first x value is a -1. 1/4 to the -1 is 4. And 4 plus 2 is 6. So when x is a -1, y is 6. Let's try another one. We have y equals 1/4 to the x plus 2. This time x will be 0. 1/4 to the 0 is 1, and 1 plus 2 is 3. So when x is 0, y is 3. Last one, y equals 1/4 to the x plus 2. This time the x value is 1. 1/4 to the 1 is 1/4. Bring down the plus 2. So we would get 2 and a 4th. All right, let's see if these points that we just found are on this graph. Okay, so let's look at the first coordinate pair. When x is -1, y is 6. So when x is -1, y is 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there it is. When x is 0, y is 3. When x is 0, y is 3. 1, 2, 3. And when x is 1, y is 2 1/4. When x is 1, y is 1, 2 1/4. So all of those points are on this curve. Now I know it's kind of a lot to take in all at once, but if you practice these, it's amazing how helpful they are. So let's go ahead and do another example or two in a new lesson.